New York nursing home mass murderer Andrew Cuomo explodes at reporter over school closings. We already did that! Spoken like a true murderous autocrat. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, New York, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show. It's the only program that keeps you educated, you see, and the craziness impacted K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Forget about it. Today we start with the RONA, as everyone from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to the CDC are getting a little extra crazy this Thanksgiving Day, Turkey Day, gobble gobble. Yes, that's the story. Andrew Cuomo, who literally killed more people than anybody else during Corona by forcing relatively sick people into nursing homes to kill all the senior citizens. This is the same Andrew Cuomo, by the way, who the lamestream media gave an Emmy to for his updates on the coronavirus. You cannot make this up. Only in New York City can you be the single greatest murderer when it comes to COVID and get an Emmy simply because you're not Donald Trump. Congratulations, New Yorker.
Yeah, so he rules the entire state. And, you know, in New York City specifically, you have the groundhog killer, Bill de Blasio. But Andrew Cuomo, in this instance, for what he did at a press conference, when a reporter actually, for pretty much the first time ever, was like, hey, can you explain exactly what it is that and why, like, the schools are closing? Parents are confused. And here's what the governor responded with.
That's the law, an orange zone and a red zone. Follow the facts.
I'm still confused.
Well, then you're confused.
I'm confused, and
then I'll tell you what, Jimmy.
Parents are still confused as well. The schools
No,
in
they're
New York
not
City
confused.
tomorrow.
You're confused.
No, I think
Read
parents
the
are
law.
very confused as well.
Read the law, and you won't be confused.
Bada bing, bada boom. What's
You're
the matter
confused.
with you, paisano?
You're confused.
Capisce, no? What's the matter with you? The problem is with you, man.
It's so bad.
The Emmy Award winning Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, so all the reporter actually said is, I'm a little unclear about New York City schools. The other day, you said this is the city's decision. They have an agreement at 3%, and they're talking about, you know, infection rates and all that. Today, you said, well, I might have to impose an orange zone, and I might have to close the schools, which an orange zone does. So what's going on? And then you have Andrew Cuomo. Read the law. We already have it. You're confused.
I got your meatballs right here,
Yeah.
paisano. For the love of God, New York, is it bad enough that you allowed de Blasio, hamster face, to ruin that city?
Groundhog killer.
That now you've got as your governor this guy?
Well, his brother, the other Cuomo.
Oh, gee, don't get me started on Chris.
I don't know which one. Hey,
don't call me
do
Fredo.
My cousin Vinny, he yelled back. We come over there. Anyway, I'm done with my trying to do any sort of Italian accent.
I just see Mona Lisa Vito stamping a foot at Joe Pesci in that movie. What was that movie called?
Wait, was that My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah, My Cousin Vinny. My cousin Andy. Andy Cuomo. Talking about school. We already did it, you Goomba. We already did it. We're going to do it again. And I tell you what, if Grandpa gets sick, we're putting him in another nursing home. Let all those old people get beat. We're paying all that money for them. We could use those rent control apartments here in New York. Make it happen.
We could go on about Andrew Cuomo and New York, and you should watch the full exchange. It's like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, because Cuomo just would not let up, because it's Andrew Cuomo and he has to be right. But we have more information on the CDC and what they're saying about, you know, if any of your college kids decide to come home this season, aka Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, Day of Thanks, the CDC is urging families to treat their college students as if they are visiting family members. So not in your household, just treat them like they're, you know, your cousin Vinny.
That's exactly right.
Good segue. So basically celebrating virtually or with members of your own household who are consistently taking measures to reduce the spread of COVID-19 pose the lowest risk for the spread, which means that's not your college kid. Your college kid was off at college doing who knows what.
Well,
So
I love the language. Treat your college kid like he was some distant stranger, right?
yeah, they should be considered to be part of a different household is what they're saying.
Exactly.
So the CDC wants your college student returning home from Thanksgiving to do this. In case your college, I mean, they may have already come back. They may be there. So make sure they're wearing a mask indoors.
Indoor masks.
College kid.
Make them sleep in masks.
Don't touch the family pet.
Don't pet the pet.
Got it. Bring your own food. Okay, it's a college kid. This is the only reason they're coming home. Let's be honest.
Can you imagine?
For 82% of the college kids coming home for Thanksgiving,
I
it's
went
for
to the
food.
student union
And
I got some of these frozen
Frozen
pizzas. I guess that's in New York. I suppose we're having this happen.
Got a pizza?
Got some frozen pizzas. Ma, you eat. Ma. You and Guido, you sit there and eat at the table. We'll eat frozen pizzas from the student union here, and we're not touching the hamster.
Well, also, you're supposed to bring your own utensils to use with that food. College kids, again, are only coming home to get the free food, the free TV, the free room and board, the free utensils.
Johnny,
but
you better not be petting that. Are you petting that? You better not be petting that dog, Johnny.
college, okay, I'm not even going to comment, college boys. Anyway, don't go into the kitchen, college kid. It's the only place they're going to be other than their own
The only places in the house they visit are the toilet, which they won't be able to use. Have them crap in a bucket behind the building. All right, have them go out in the backyard, crap in a bucket. When it comes to eat, make them bring student union food home. When it comes to the pets, if they want to pet pets, have them go to New York City and pet the rats.
There you go. And also, don't sing.
Don't sing.
The
Don't
fact that
sing.
these are the ones they write down, of all the things, it could have been like socially distance. I get the very first one of the mask indoors. Okay, it started off like, yeah, I expect that. But then all of a sudden, the number 2 is don't touch the family pet, and then it's just got bring your own utensils. Like, whoa, we're going down a groundhog hole.
The only 2 things kids come home for are to eat and to wash their laundry.
That's what I just
and
said.
Don't let them
Exactly.
use the laundry machines.
You can't probably
because
use
you'll never
any-
get that COVID out of there.
Oh my gosh, this is where we're at here for COVID Thanksgiving 2020.
You'd laugh if it wasn't so and before we move off of this, Mike, give us just 5 more seconds of Andrew Cuomo, because I want you to pay attention to the little mime guy at the bottom. This is how you yell at somebody in Italian in sign language.
That's
There-
the
look
law.
at-
An orange zone and a red zone. Follow the facts.
Look at our little guy
You're
there.
confused.
I'm confused, and
Then I'll tell you what, Jimmy.
Look at that.
Confused as well. The schools.
Oh,
and-
Andrew
confused.
Cuomo,
You're confused.
No, I
giving
can't-
it to
Read the
him
law.
Confused as
live
well.
Read the law, and you won't be confused.
and mime.
There we go.
Mime. We've got a little Goomba mime. I think we're done with this story.
Well, if you get fired once, it's pretty bad, but if you get fired twice, it's no bueno. So, a Florida high school principal was recently fired for a second time over the same dang thing about comments he made in 2018 over the Holocaust curriculum that was being taught in his school. The Palm Beach County School Board voted unanimously to finalize now William Latson's termination as principal of Spanish River High School in Boca Raton, according to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. The board decided to fire Latson for the second time after he was reinstated back in October, and then on the recommendation of a state administrative law judge, they said, okay, now fire number 2. So it's like you finally get your job back, and now you're fired
Now,
again.
a couple of things. First, in the first place, he never would have gotten a second chance if he weren't black.
I do not know.
What is his crime? His crime is he refuses to take a position on the Holocaust.
Here's
And by the way,
okay.
if you're going to be a superintendent,
principal.
if you're going to be a principal in Boca Raton, Florida, where is the largest Jewish community outside of New York City in the whole Western Hemisphere, you got some stones, brother. But twice now, he refuses to acknowledge. He doesn't deny the Holocaust, but he refuses to insist that it happened.
So here's the backstory. So he ignited an international uproar back in the day there in 2018 after telling a parent of a Spanish River student that as principal, he had to remain, quote, politically neutral on whether the Holocaust was a historical event or not. He said he had to be mindful of those who push for more education of the Holocaust in school, as well as those who believe the Holocaust never happened. So he's trying to ride the fence of Holocaust, yes, it happened, historical, Holocaust, poof, made up.
I give him credit. And I'm a little torn by this story because he just simply refuses to answer. And as a principal, he's not going to be teaching. The question is whether or not he'll allow his teachers to teach the truth. So he's not a denier. I mean, he is. Clearly, he denies the Holocaust. But he has not said that. He has not averred that.
Unclearly.
To me, it seems like it's a very thin line. But we're just about when I'm just about sympathetic to the fella, turn around and ask myself this question: if somebody under his employ, if one of his teachers said, "I'm not committing to teaching Black Lives Matter. I don't commit. I'm neutral." If one of his teachers says, "I'm neutral on Black Lives Matter," I mean, on the one hand, we have to cater to those who think that blacks are constantly being persecuted. On the other hand, we have to realize that most violence in this country is black on black. I'm pretty sure the principal would not keep that person in his employ.
Yeah, well, based on the email that he had written and the one that got him into so much trouble, he just seems like a wishy-washy, I don't want to cause any trouble, but by not causing any trouble, taking any side, then I take all sides and no sides at all, and therefore I'm in trouble. He wrote, "I work to expose students to certain things, but not all parents want their students exposed, so they will not be, and I can't force that issue. I can't say the Holocaust is a factual historical event because I am not in a position to do so as a school district employee."
Then how can you say slavery is?
This is, you believe everything and nothing at all.
That's
Like,
right. You go all the way with that, because I guarantee you this guy would be outraged if his teachers denied slavery or said, "I can't guarantee that slavery actually happened."
Exactly. So an elderly man and a Holocaust survivor actually spoke at the school board meeting talking about this.
If there's one
saying,
place you could find that, it would be in Boca Raton.
Well, there you go. He said, "You should remember you are the judges," as he's speaking to the school board, "and the Almighty stands in front of you here right now. He wants to see how you will judge. That should be remembered, that our children should get the proper education, that you should not deny the truth. May God bless America. May God bless Israel, and never again."
And I agree with all of that. I also would agree if this principal allowed the teaching of the Holocaust as an actual event and didn't get in the way of that, I would think he would be wrongly, and maybe that's why they hired him back. It's wrongly terminating him. In fact, did the first one go to court, which is why he got his job back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a judge actually agreed.
So they actually had reassigned him,
That's
and
right.
then they fired him.
That's right.
Judge Robert S. Cohen ruled the district lacked grounds to fire
That's right.
him.
I think there's truth to that.
Well, he said the school district failed to provide that Latz engaged in misconduct in office, incompetence, or gross insubordination by a preponderance of the evidence. No just cause for his suspension or termination exists, but a reprimand and reassignment are warranted. So basically they said, slap on the wrist, shouldn't have done that. We're going to move you around here. But then now they came back and said,
well, he
"You're
obviously
fired."
reaffirmed his opinion, right, that it's not his job. Well, it is your job. I mean, in the same way that there are a lot of parents out there don't like the hijacking of the American public schools with Black Lives Matter ideology, and there are those who are saying, right, that there's no balance here. You're not allowed to challenge that at all. But it does seem like an odd hill to die on. You would think somebody like that principal who doesn't have to teach the stuff. Simply back up. Is for anybody out there, is the Holocaust really the hill you want to die on? That's a terrible, terrible analogy, given what the Holocaust is. The Holocaust was real. It's undeniably real. Why would you make that the thing on which you stake anything serious? I mean, it's an absolutely unnecessary shooting one. This is the Darwin Awards to educators. Going after the Holocaust or not, or even pretending that the Holocaust isn't real, or suggesting you're not sure, that's the Darwin Award of teaching. You're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble quick, and you should.
Now, maybe I'm not the first, but I may be one of the earliest people to say Merry Christmas this Christmas holiday season, but no Merry Christmas, because atheists decide that they're going to be big bullies and not allow children to get Christmas presents. Operation Christmas Child, you may have heard of it. It's an annual program operated by Franklin Graham's Samaritan's Purse. And every year, Americans fill these millions of shoeboxes. You may have seen them at various organizations, churches, schools. And so they filled its shoeboxes with toys and clothing, toiletries, other necessities that children around the world need that here in America we tend to be easily able to go get. Well, Liberty Middle School in Pratt, Kansas was a part of this program for several years, and they were going to participate again this year, just like they always do, until Freedom from Religious Foundation, FFRF, got involved. They're an atheist group known for harassing communities and schools that don't adhere to the organization's absolutist stance on separation of church and state. We've talked about them every holiday season because they're always up to, yelling at someone. Yes, Dr. Duke, question.
How is it church? How is it a absolute violation of church, or even a minor violation of church and state, when you got kids stuffing shoe boxes with necessities for poor kids? How, other than the fact that it's wrong, that the idea is of the brainchild of a Christian, Franklin Graham.
That's all
how
it takes.
In the world can you look at this? These nasty little kids stuffing school boxes with necessities for poor kids around the country. This is a violation of church and state. And the school calls itself Liberty School.
Well,
Liberty
Middle School.
They need to change the name.
Well,
to cave in to a bunch of howler monkeys with fax machines. I think isn't this group located in Wisconsin, by the way? Mm-hmm. I think it is here in Wisconsin. We need to do something fun for them.
You
here.
get on it.
Get on.
Well,
Drop off some Christian Christmas presents for them.
The FFRF staff attorney Christopher Line wrote a letter, not to Santa, obviously, but to Superintendent Tony Helfrich, claiming that a concerned staff member had contacted the organization to complain about the many egregious constitutional violations. I would like to know, name one. Many means more than one.
The sad thing is the superintendent would have won in court if he had the stones to fight this.
But of course not. So because they are Liberty Middle School and they were participating in Operation Christmas Child, they must cease participation immediately, according to their attorney. So basically, an attorney got to the school, and the school says, okay, we're not going to do it.
Christmas is a federal holiday. You are literally saying now that for any mention of the word Christmas in a public school is a violation of Christian. That's like saying Thanksgiving. Well, we're getting there. Look what we did with Columbus Day. Look at how we're rewriting Thanksgiving now.
Matter.
Easter, forget about it.
Yep. Well, basically, the superintendent caved. They abandoned it, and they then promptly danced on the graves of the children and celebrated victory. Maybe they didn't do that, but I think that's what they did. All those kids who aren't
getting things this Christmas. All those needy kids who will go without. Congratulations.
Yeah, and here, the cruel, evil spawns of the devil that FFRF is said they were pleased that it was able to educate the school district about the true purpose of Samaritan's Purse, and that the district officials were quick to see the light.
How's that for a Christian image?
Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, boy, way to go. Way to rip off Acts of the Apostles.
Yes. So the FFRF co-president Annie Laurie Gaylor said, a lot of these groups rely on school authorities being ignorant about their mission. We appreciate how swiftly the district discontinued the fundraising after our alert. ... And the fact that we can take away shoes and toys and any happiness from children around the world who can't otherwise feed themselves.
Because the organizations are Christian and do Christian things and promote Christian things, we can't have kids sending packages in their name.
All the kids would do is get the shoebox, go find some toys full of stuff, toiletries, anything, and give it. They're not sitting around and praying afterwards.
They don't have to go they don't have to carry their boxes into big, scary cathedrals and hand it off to people in white collars. That would be a bridge too far. All they do is collect it. The Samaritan's Purse then gathers it and sends it out. And this is what this organization is dancing about. They're dancing about how wonderfully they have woke up that superintendent about how vicious and nefarious this is. But again, having your kids read Planned Parenthood propaganda in third grade, that's perfectly acceptable.
You know, what they should have done is filled those boxes with the new sex ed curriculum and all that they're learning in all these schools anyway, so that kids around the world
maybe if these kids were packing the boxes full of vibrators and dildos and Vaseline,
12-inch
maybe that would have gone just fine.
It's time for some real education. John Keats was an English romantic poet born in 1795 and died in 1821. He was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poets, along with Lord Byron and Percy Shelley, despite his works having been in publication for only 4 years before his death from tuberculosis at the age of 25. Today, his poems and letters are some of the most popular and most analyzed in English literature. Some of his most acclaimed works are Ode to a Nightingale, Sleep and Poetry, and the famous sonnet On First Looking into Chapman's Homer.
Keats died at 25 of tuberculosis. It was a horrible death, a typical consumption death, with all of the coughing up blood. 25 years old, up to the age of 25, even though some of his earlier work was immature, juvenile, produced some of the most incredible lyric poetry in the history of the world. It really makes us wonder if he had been allowed to live to 50, what he might have done. He could have become easily the greatest poet England had ever produced. And that's a country that gave us Shakespeare and Milton and Chaucer as well. But he died young. And he was a romantic poet. So he was at one point he was working on a work that was a kind of a longer work, Hyperion. It was very romantic about Greek mythology and the sun, and very typically romantic, emotional. And he got tired of it. It was in the middle of winter, and he felt himself that the work he was doing was almost intellectually superficial. It was bothering him. And so he decided to sit down and reread King Lear. How bad is that? That my own poetry is driving me crazy with its superficialities and its romantic context. I need to go back and read a poet of real existential angst. So he went back to Shakespeare. I can just see Shelley with a comforter around him, a cup of tea, hacking up blood, reading King Lear in the frozen depths of winter. And here's the poem he wrote about it, talking about the romance he's working on. O golden-tongued romance, with serene lute, fair-plumed siren, queen of far away, leave melodizing on this winter day. Shut up thine olden pages and be mute. All right? First 4 lines. Talking about how he's putting aside his golden-tongued romance, serene lute, the fair-plumed siren. It's time to do something else, he says. Adieu. For once again, the fierce dispute betwixt damnation and impassioned clay must I burn through. I have never heard a better definition of King Lear, which I think is the greatest play Shakespeare wrote. It is the fierce dispute betwixt damnation and impassioned clay, a human being. He must burn through it again, he says. Once more, humbly essay the bitter sweet of this Shakespearean fruit. Chief poet, he says of Shakespeare, and ye clouds of England, Albion, begetters of our deep eternal theme, when through the old oak forest I am gone, let me not wander in a barren dream, but when I am consumed in the fire, give me new phoenix wings to fly at my desire. All about leaving this world, entering the next, how that play is this debate between existential existence and what it means to be human and what happens when we shake off our mortality. It's amazing he ever picked up his romance again.
All right. Before we go, just a reminder that the best way to keep up with our various shows at Freedom Project is to follow us on Parler. So take 10 seconds and follow at Duke Pesta, at Katie, and at Freedom Project. Thank you so kindly. Now we want to take a moment to show some love to our Patriot Club members. Today, we'd like to give a special shout out to Chris from Thief River Falls in Minnesota, just down the way over there in the Minnesotas. So thank you so much for supporting us, Chris. And if you're a fan of the show, please consider a one-time tax-deductible donation to support the Patriot Club, and we're going to send you an awesome tumbler to boot. So all you have to do to sign up is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. And now we're going to wrap things up with the fun fact of the day. Since 1993, Operation Christmas Child has collected and delivered more than 178 million shoebox gifts to children in more than 160 countries and territories. And in 2020, the goal is to collect 11 million boxes for children, for kids who are in Peru, in the Philippines, in Rwanda, and Ukraine, among others.
And that's exactly what the public schools cannot abide. And that's going to do it for this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.